How's it going, boys? Welcome back to Mogul Mail. In this video, we're going to talk about women. Stick around to the end because we're going to solve sexism in this video. Now, I haven't posted in a couple weeks because nothing's inspired me, but I saw a tweet from It's Timmy, the Apex Legends god and good friend of the stream, that said my clips were taken out of context in a video that invalidates and diminishes the experiences of women. And, you know, I was curious. So I clicked on the video and I watched what I can only call the Ocean's 8 of YouTube videos. Just a hot, stinking pile of garbage. And it is titled, How Feminist Ideas Make Everyone Weak.
I appreciate the compliments. Thanks. Also, did anyone notice that he crapped on the all-female Ocean's 11 as a way of insulting me? Be careful, you wouldn't want to be labeled as a misogynist. So recently, a lot of creators who disagree with me have been reacting to my content. Normally, I just kind of ignore this stuff because going back and forth between reactions like that movie Inception is annoying, and I don't find that kind of stuff entertaining. Particularly if there's no bigger narrative that's not just, this guy disagreed with me, let me tell you all the ways he's wrong. It just creates drama, and nobody really learns anything from it. But on this channel, I talk a lot about the most important thing not being who is right politically. The most important thing is de-radicalizing people and trying to create bridges that help everyone get along. And that's the common problem that I see with all these reactions. Whether or not these people have the correct opinion, they're exhibiting tons of behaviors that will radicalize their audience and divide people. I'll start with a little backstory. Over a month ago, Vaush reacted to my channel.
Yeah, probably. This channel's gonna get big. Well, it's already big.
Thanks for having faith in me, Vaush. Then Hasan reacted to me and said my content was awesome.
Dude, this is awesome. Okay, this guy's great.
Thanks, Hasan. I appreciate that. Then this guy reacted to me, whoever he is. And last, Ludwig reacted with the video that you saw in the intro clip. These creators reacted to a couple of videos of mine, but the most interesting reactions were to my video on the two documentaries from Vice and the BBC, which were basically plausible deniability pieces asking why women don't do well in esports, that were a lot more about promoting censorship and sexist affirmative action programs than they were about honestly investigating why women don't do as well as men in esports. You can tell that was the case because instead of asking very obvious questions of player demographics and competition, time invested in the skill, and realistically assessing the skills of the people involved, or talking about competitive trends like the Pareto distribution, they immediately go to the patriarchy and to pushing for women to get competition spots they didn't earn because they happen to be born female. Without wasting any more time, let's get into the behavior that I think radicalizes people.
Now, we're going to go through a lot of this. You can see all the notes at the top and really dissect this video and why it has zero information.
Really? There's no information that I got right? Now, I can understand if you don't agree with the theme of the video, but I spent a lot of time talking about skill building. Work really hard, try to find a mentor who is already successful, and network with friends who have similar goals. This advice is the main reason why I made that video, and it's also a big reason why people watch my channel. You agree with none of that? I have a hard time believing that because you wouldn't have the success that you have if you didn't do at least one of those things. It's important to note that stuff because people are nuanced, and when you say your opponent can do nothing right by starting your video out with the energy of, there's no information here and I agree with nothing, you are vilifying that person to your audience, which will lead to extreme reactions and behaviors from the people who follow you because they believe they are righteously attacking someone who is evil and irredeemable. This is why when you write pinned comments like this one, tons of your followers disagree with you and go and do the behavior that you're telling them not to do. If you want to keep things peaceful, how you say things matters. We all have to be careful about how we say things when it comes to disagreements. That being said, here's professional Apex Legends player It's Timmy doing the same thing Ludwig did in this tweet right here. My clips were taken out of context. I do not agree with any of the ideals portrayed in this video at all. None of them? No ideal in my video was good? If you don't agree that hard work pays off, then why do you work so much?
My entire life is literally online. I literally wake up, hit the live button, go to turn off the stream, go to bed.
Again, I understand if you don't like the main premise of the video, but there is no way that I said absolutely nothing that you agreed with. And personally, I am very careful to not portray people as 100% bad, even if I just give them one tiny point that's good. Simply saying I don't agree with the video instead of I don't agree at all is enough to let people know your position without suggesting that your opponent is incapable of good. The second part of Timmy's statement is something that people who disagree with me love to accuse me of. Timmy said that I took his clips out of context. That's not true. His clips were fully in context, I described the events, and I put the source material in the description so people could fact check it. I don't know how I could have been any more honest, though I will admit that I messed up the interpretation of this particular clip.
I killed one. He's low. Both on me. Bud's one. He's trying to thirst. He's trying to thirst for armor. Nice. Get him.
I can't do you guys. Wait, he full killed you? What a bitch, bro.
I said the bitch comment was directed at Timmy as an example of banter. People who reacted to it said it was directed at the other player, not Timmy. So I rewatched the clip to verify, and I do admit they were correct. I was flat out wrong there. It happens. Sometimes creators get things wrong, and the most difficult part about this job is that people really do expect you to get everything right. Seriously, you better not make a mistake, and even Ludwig agrees with that.
But let's be real. One bad analogy, throw the whole video away. It's just how it works, okay?
He's right. If you screw up an analogy or a metaphor, it will kill the video because people will hyper-focus on that mistake and ignore everything else. You'd be surprised how much one mistake can screw up an entire video. So my bad. If I had caught that mistake before the video released, I would have used a different example. That being said, let's talk about the stuff I think Ludwig got wrong. And a key feature of many of these bad takes or interpretations is that the people reacting didn't let me finish my point.
But it turns out that the 50% of the people who play the esports aren't women. 50% of the people who play Dota aren't women. And he even goes into this.
Earlier they said Dota 2, right? What percentage of women play that game? 20%. What about another popular competitive game like Fortnite? 27%. Higher than Dota, but you can still see that there are way more male players than females, so it statistically makes sense for almost all the top players to be male.
Okay, going through that logic for a moment, let's just draw on that string. If 20% of the players are female, then through his logic, 20% of the top players should be female, or at least a close enough number.
Yeah, except you left out my explanation on why the number of female winners isn't reflective of the total number of women who play the game. First of all, it might be the case that not all 20% of women playing the game are competitive. So it might be 80-20 for total players, but maybe it's more like 90-10 male to female for competitors. I don't have the stats on that, but if that's the case, then it would explain some of the disparity. But more importantly, the way competition works is that the same people always win. It's called a Pareto distribution. That trend is repeated in a ton of areas, and yes, it will be a super tiny fraction of participants who get everything. So when you have a competitive space that's 80% male, it's more likely that those guys will win, and once they do win, they are very much set in stone as the top competitors. That's the important nuance that Ludwig just skipped over. You can agree or disagree with that, but if you're trying to keep me in context, let me finish my point or at least describe it in your own words. Otherwise, you aren't giving the audience a fair interpretation. Especially when you're in an environment where it's winner take all.
And that doesn't even make any damn sense. You think the international's winner take all? Have you ever seen an esports tournament in your damn life? That'd be insane. You walk away with $40 million, and second place walks away with a thumb in their ass. It's usually like a 45%, 40%, maybe 50% if you're generous towards first place. And then the other 50% spread over to like the next usually 7 spots. That's how a tournament goes. So I don't think you've ever seen a damn esports tournament in your life. But
to clarify, when I said winner take all, I didn't mean that only first place gets the prize money. I know how competition works, and I know that people who don't get first still get prize money. What I meant by winner take all is that a couple people make all the money and everyone else makes nothing. That's typically something that describes creative fields, like YouTube. Tons of people try to be successful at YouTube, only a handful of people make a living. Compared to a welder, where if you take the classes and apply for the job, you're most likely going to leave with money in your pocket. As for the rest of these arguments, obviously I can't respond to everything. Otherwise this video would never get finished. So if I don't pick your favorite comeback from someone who reacted to me, I'm sorry. What I will try to do is pick out the arguments that were strongest from them, and a lot of that's going to be based off of what I saw their audience saying the strongest arguments were. Here is one of them.
And he goes on to quote a Pew Research article from 2014 and talks about how men actually deal with more harassment online.
They mean to you. Everybody raised their hand, right? This is not exclusive to women. Here's data from Pew Research about online harassment from 2014. Most of the categories are even. Look, it says here that men are 7% more likely to be harassed online than women are when you look at all types of harassment.
Okay, that's a 2014 article from Pew Research. Pew Research does this article often. I don't know why he went back to 2014. Again, this video was posted literally a couple months ago. They did a 2017 version and then a 2021 version. I looked it up. And it turns out that if you do the more recent one, the numbers have changed a bit, interestingly enough.
I know this was everyone's favorite point. It was also my favorite point, and I'll tell you why. For one, understand that Ludwig has a staff to help him with this kind of stuff, or save him time in other areas.
I can't do that now because I have 15 employees.
Outside of the guy who makes my thumbnails, I don't have a staff. I do all of this by myself. which means I only have so much time before people start saying, "Oh my god, where's the next video? You take forever." So I have to use certain time-saving techniques. I already had this study on hand, and I had already read all 8 pages of it, so I reused it. Yes, it's old. I wasn't trying to hide that. I mentioned how old it was in the video. For those of you who don't know, research for sociological studies are typically considered out of date after 5 years. But you don't always have people studying the same topics every year, so if a study is older, you have to ask, why would this change? My suspicion was the numbers wouldn't be significantly different because there isn't really a reason for that abusive tendency to have changed. Domestic violence is a similar category, and that's been perpetrated pretty evenly by men and women for a long time. A family member of mine was a researcher on it, and those numbers have been stable since like the 70s. So my thought was, this video is taking forever, the numbers probably aren't different, therefore I don't need to spend time looking for more recent data. It's not as simple as, well, obviously Pew has done this study multiple times over the years. Again, I don't have employees like Ludwig does to look this stuff up for me, so I didn't know that Pew updated the study, and typically it takes lots of hours spent reading irrelevant crap just to find research that is talking about the subject that you're discussing. Anyway, here's the great part. The 2014 numbers I cited from Pew are almost exactly the same as the numbers from 2021. I was right. They were consistent. Now, there's not a huge difference between the total harassment that men receive versus women, so I will still say that men and women get harassed at a pretty similar rate, with men being harassed slightly more. But then Ludwig goes for the killing blow.
They did a 2017 version and then a 2021 version. I looked it up, and it turns out that if you do the more recent one, the numbers have changed a bit, interestingly enough, and the amount of gendered harassment has increased from 20% to 33% among those who were harassed from 2017 to 2020. So it turns out that this is becoming more of a problem. Maybe we should look at newer stats.
Great, except that's not what I was talking about. I understand that's what you guys were talking about, but since we're talking about what I was saying, my point in the video was about the erasure of harm that happens to men. I watched 2 different news reports about harassment, and neither of them made any mention of men going through similar experiences. Because the reality is that men do go through those experiences in video games. Now, I don't think this talking point has to be their whole video, but you could have at least said something. I mean, I said something. I said that harassment is bad on both sides. And I'll add, particularly things like physical threats, stalking, or doxing, which I can imagine are incredibly scary for women. That's all I was asking for, and that's why I brought up the total harassment numbers and not just specific types. So stop saying this only happens on one side. And certainly Ludwig shouldn't be accusing me of being dishonest when he ignored the numbers that I brought up in the original video, which were right on page 1 and come before the graph on gendered harassment that he brought up. I mean, you couldn't have missed it unless you didn't actually read the study. I also don't appreciate Ludwig mischaracterizing me by saying that I hate women merely for disagreeing with him. Oh wait, he changed the title. I'll give him points for that. That's more courteous than the other creators were towards me. But anyway, despite Ludwig framing me as one-sided and sexist, he completely is one-sided in this video with harassment issues. First, let's go to the top of the Pew Research article. Oh, another point here for Ludwig. He actually cited his resources in the description. This is something that I swear that he didn't do when I first watched the video, but I'll accept it. Now, because I'm 90% sure that he did not have his sources cited until well after the video was released, I checked the description of every single video on his Mogul Mail channel to see if this is something that he normally does. The only video that had source citations on it was his response to me. My suspicion is that he or one of his team saw that I cite all of my sources and didn't want to look bad, so he added them to the video. But look at that, guys. We are influencing positive change and causing people to adopt more honest behavior. That's probably the best thing to come out of this reaction. Though I do have to point out that he didn't source the entire Pew study. The link just leads to a graph from the article, but I'm going to assume that was an honest mistake. Sorry that was kind of a tangent, but if I don't take the time to point out good things, it will radicalize the people who watch my videos. Anyway, let's read the top of the article. The subtitle specifically points out that political harassment is really high, and look at that, it is way higher than gendered harassment. Political harassment affects men more. Do you see how it's unfair to suggest that I'm a sexist when you yourself don't bring up the other side of the argument as a problem? I understand that you guys are talking about gender, but what I was trying to do in that video was to include other people in the conversation so it doesn't become a divide and conquer gambit where only women's issues are addressed. So on that note, you say that gendered harassment has gone up. I agree, and I will say that harassing women is bad. I think very few people would disagree with that. But here's what you're ignoring. Political harassment is super high. Political harassment affects men more than women. Personally, I think if someone says go F yourself because of your political beliefs, that's bad. It's also bad if someone says that to you because of your gender. But why does it only matter when it's gendered harassment? Is bullying suddenly okay as long as you don't make fun of someone's gender? It sounds like that's what you were suggesting.
You can look right here that men are more likely to be harassed based on their political views, and women are more likely to be harassed based on their gender. That's the problem. That's what we're talking about. That's what the BBC is trying to note. Not just, oh, raise your hand if someone said something mean to you once.
Holy crap, Ludwig. Do you know how bad political harassment is? This is a little old, but here's feminist Jessica Valenti writing on a major news publication telling people to harass, bully, and ostracize their family members who voted for Trump. I point this out because that Pew study said that political harassment has gone up a ton in recent years, and I think that it's articles like this that caused it, along with the insanity from mainstream news outlets such as Vice and the BBC. Oh hey, here's a girl from last year yelling at a guy who was quietly studying because he had a Police Lives Matter sticker on his laptop. People have lost friends and family over political harassment. People have been assaulted over political beliefs. I mean, political harassment is such a big deal that it's in the header of the article. Why is that not also an important issue? Why is it better to sit here and play a game of whack-a-mole with specific areas instead of trying to fix the problem in general, which has a lot more to do with reintroducing two-parent homes into the culture and promotion of mental health than it does to do with shouting the patriarchy everywhere you go? Honestly, I don't get how I'm the closed-minded one when I'm saying that all of the categories of harassment matter, including gendered harassment, and you're saying that only a specific type of harassment matters. That's what I was saying, and that's why I brought the Pew research up. I don't like how there's millions of news reports done by big corporations that exclusively talk about women's issues, act like men are always the aggressors, and very rarely address men's problems, which is exactly what Vice and the BBC did in those reports. I mean, this stuff is everywhere, like how there's tons of promotion for International Women's Day from all the big companies, but for the past 3 years, I haven't so much as seen a tiny banner on Google for International Men's Day. Worse, Amazon and some other companies are trying to reappropriate that day to Women's Entrepreneurship Day. The constant crapping on men from these major outlets is why I made this channel to discuss it. One more thing on the Pew study and I'll move on. I made a point in the original video saying that men and women experience things differently. Here's data that says that despite that men get harassed more, women complain more and are more upset about it. The point of that segment of my video is that the media is trying to use that proclivity in women to enact censorship because that's what mainstream news does. They take a problem people are complaining about, and they use that as a mechanism to make an authoritarian policy the solution to that problem. They did that with hate speech, which begs the question, who defines hate speech?
The problem with restraining speech is who gets to set the rules. If it's only okay in a certain time or place, who gets to say what time and what place?
This is from a character from the Boondocks who describes himself as a leftist. Back in 2005, the left used to be the cool anti-establishment party. Now they are just shilling for the same censorship that the establishment tried to use conservatives to implement back in the 2000s. The problem is not the right or the left. It's establishment forces such as Vice and the BBC trying to set narratives to control everything. Look at this. Remember when the left used to be cool?
I swear that boy just like to be miserable. He can't enjoy nothing. All he want to talk about is the Build-A-Bear group, the Federal Reserve, and all that bullshit.
I can't believe that the party that used to contain all the edgelords when I was a kid is now avidly in favor of censorship. But it's not the reason for the censorship that matters. It's the fact that they can take a random issue and 10 years later use that as an excuse to censor political ideas they don't like as the culture accepts the censorship. Much like what Huey from the Boondocks was referring to in that prior scene. Speaking of that, the next major point that Ludwig makes is about a streamer who goes by Spawntaneous. Let's watch.
In fact, you can see this entire series, which is funny in a terrible way, from a creator named Spawntaneous, where she documents all the harassment she receives while playing a game.
That's inaccurate framing. If you actually watch the series, it also contains weird or funny moments, and many moments of people just asking if she's a girl instead of a 12-year-old boy, which is not harassment, it's asking for clarification. But go on.
She started this series in 2018 and is still ongoing 4 years later. Let's just watch this clip.
Oh my god, you're terrible.
It's coming down, cool vibes.
Yeah, we didn't ask. We really didn't.
I want you guys to note, this is round 1.
Yeah, it sounds like those guys are being assholes there. But here's something I noticed because I actually watched the entire video with Spawntaneous, as well as several other videos in this series. Many, and I mean many, of the time she talks to people, she is doing exactly what I said these women were doing in the original video about Vice and the BBC, which is that these women are actually instigating the negative treatment they complain about.
Are you a female?
Are you an idiot? I can ask stupid questions too.
What? Why was that response warranted? He's just asking a question. What's the context of this situation? Now, he said something very slightly rude after this that I'm sure she considers to be harassment, but of course he did that because she was mean to him from the start. If you want people to be nice to you, then you need to be nice. And I didn't have to, search her entire internet history to find this. This was the same video that Ludwig cited. By the way, why did that guy ask that question? We don't know, but maybe it's because it's unusual for women to play tactical shooters. Look at this chart. Tactical shooters have some of the lowest participation from women, so it's rare and interesting to have a woman on your team. The crazy thing is that she knows very few women play this game, but then she belittles men for saying, oh my god, it's a girl.
Thunderbird, can you not put your healing station on the hatch? Can you put it somewhere else?
Oh my god, is that a girl? Oh my god. Oh my god.
Surveillance on bomb.
But when she finally sees another girl player, she does the same thing that she belittles the guys for doing.
Skylight? Ash?
It's a girl! Hello, fellow girl.
Hello.
How many times do you get mistaken for a little boy?
God damn it.
Pretty often.
Ugh, I'm not the only one.
Spawntaneous, just because you're annoyed by the question doesn't mean you get to be mean. These are different people. They don't know who you are. Hell, I was a vegan for 7 years and I constantly got asked the same questions every time I was around food. I always politely answered them and never made faces or responded rudely like she did. I mean, listen to her. She's having a literal meltdown from being asked a simple question.
Is there a girl in here?
Oh my god, he's being cringy. Please ignore him.
I'm joking.
It's not funny. I hope you know it's not a funny joke.
Were you offended by my joke?
It's just f***ing annoying. I hear it every game. It's not a joke.
I get it.
It's just stupid.
So what's with all the attitude?
Because I'm tired of hearing it every time I speak. Because it's the dumbest shit I've ever heard.
What have you been hearing?
What the f do you expect?
Is that a woman? What do you mean, what the f do you expect? I'm a literal human being, just like everyone else playing the game. Why are people so shocked?
All that guy was trying to do was lighten the mood. If it's not funny, just don't laugh. You don't have to have a tantrum over it. Look, she does it again. The same guy asks a simple question and she is super rude.
Do you happen to stream?
No.
I'm just curious. So hostile.
Because anytime a girl plays the game, are you streaming? You must be streaming. You can't play games without streaming.
You are so offended by everything I said. God
Yeah,
damn,
because
chill out.
it's all stereotypical bullshit that women have to hear
I
every
literally
game.
just asked if you stream, bitch. Anybody can stream. Are you f***ing with? I stream.
Yeah, but you are a streamer, so he's right. Streaming is like a normal thing now that lots of regular men and women do, so it's not a strange thing to ask. Can we all not see how she turned a simple question into a shouting match? Like, what is this? Imagine if a person I don't know asked me, hey, are you a YouTuber? And I say, hell no, why would you ask that? Are all men supposed to be YouTubers? That's so stereotypical. As it was shown in an earlier clip, this whole interaction started because he asked if she was a girl. Come on, you've been playing this game for like 4 years. At this point, you know what you're walking into. You don't have to be so rude when people ask you questions or make a small joke because you hear it a lot. It's called a conversation. Actually, you know what? Here's what annoys me. Every time, and I swear every single time I talk to someone, they always start the conversation with, how are you? I am so damn tired of answering that same question every day and multiple times a day. Do you see how ridiculous she's being? There are tons of examples of her behaving like this. Here's another one from the same video that Ludwig cited. I didn't even have to look very hard to find this.
Hold on.
Protect the bomb.
Do we have an e-girl in this lobby?
Oh, we have an idiot in this lobby, I can tell you that.
Oh, I mean, I was gonna compliment you, but never mind.
E-girl's not a compliment, sorry.
I understand that e-girl has a negative connotation to it, but it can also, to some people, just mean a girl who streams. Instead of waiting for him to clarify which definition he was using, she immediately assumes it's the negative one, goes off on him, and ends up being wrong. Which means, she's the bully here. Even still, like I suggested people should do in my original video, the guy disregards her rudeness and makes a joke.
Well, that's just what you are.
No, I'm not.
I'm sorry, you're right, you're not a e-girl, you're an I-lady.
Alright, I'll accept that. That's better than what I usually hear. You didn't tell me to go to the kitchen, so I'll take it.
What did he call you?
Called me an I-lady.
I-lady nuts in your face! Oh!
You got him.
Got him. She's in bathroom,
She's in bathroom.
It was a little unclear that she was laughing at that joke, so just so I don't get accused of taking anyone out of context by the people who disagree with me, here is her saying that she thought it was funny in the comment section. So she laughs, and the situation was diffused. This is how you handle this stuff. Use comedy. It results in way more positivity than being rude or mean. Speaking of her behavior, here's something interesting that I heard in a different video of hers.
I swear you're like a magnet. This is the
I
more
don't
weird.
understand.
This is like more weird stuff than I hear in like an entire month.
Yeah, because as you can see, she's instigating a lot of the fights and making these situations way more negative than they should be. She also has a really unpleasant personality, which makes people want to poke fun at her more. There's a reason she gets loads of bad interactions and her friend doesn't. That has everything to do with the way she speaks to people. Now, there were situations that were inappropriate, but if she was just pleasant when people ask if she's a girl or not instead of being rude, it would massively cut back on the negativity she experiences. And for the other stuff where people aren't truly being cruel, just do this.
You know, I made a tweet not long ago saying, hey, as women, maybe we should stop being victims here and stop calling everyone a misogynist because they make a get in the kitchen joke on Xbox Live. It ain't that deep. It's a joke. Just toss it right back at them.
That's how you do it. I love how Ludwig calls me a misogynist in the original title and leaves out the clip I included of a female gamer agreeing with me. Guess what? A lot of women agree with what I'm saying on this topic. Again, I'll take it back to me being formerly vegan for a bunch of years. Not only was I asked the same questions at every event, I was also made fun of at every event for being vegan. And I mean I was made fun of constantly. I never got mad. One of the ways you keep these interactions lighthearted and positive is to play into the stereotype and make fun of it. I said I was a soy boy, I virtue signaled about everything. Every so often, a family member or a friend of mine would try to go vegan or vegetarian, and I would ask, how does it feel now that you're better than everyone else? Because of this, I would constantly get positive feedback from people, and they would compliment me for not being a total zealot like tons of vegans are. Making fun of yourself changes the interaction to something friendly. Getting offended all the time is not the most effective solution. Certainly, it's a great way to make people hate you. So if you want respect from these people, then start the game out by saying, go easy on me, I'm a girl, and then proceed to carry the match. Ludwig said she was good, right?
I'm literally the reason we're winning this game right now. They're giving me so much shit at the beginning. They shut their mouth real quick when you start carrying their ass.
I mean, this is so easy. They are playing a tactical shooter that is staged in the house. If she makes a joke saying, I'm going to defend the kitchen, they're going to think that's funny and respect that. Guys are so tired of feminists getting offended by everything that they will treat you like a champ if you do that. This is what works. Being pleasant and playing along with a joke. What doesn't work is this thing that Ludwig suggested from Dr. K.
Is toxic towards a woman, you don't have to attack them, you don't have to defend, you gotta say, hey man, you think you can cool it a little bit? Like, do you really think what you're doing is decent? And then what do? They start calling you a simp. Fine, you let them. You don't have to fight them, you don't have to convince them, you don't have to do any of that shit. You don't have to show them you're right. That's all you say, like, hey man, can you lay off? And then if he keeps going, you can apologize to the woman. You can say, hey, I'm sorry you have to deal with this. Sounds like it sucks. I can only imagine. If there's something I can do, let me know. That's all you gotta say. 30 seconds of speech, and then he can get mad at you. Why does he get mad at you? Because you're fucking right. Does that solve the problem? No. In the next game, there needs to be someone else like you.
Mm-hmm.
And in the next game, there needs to be someone else like you. And I guarantee you that if that person plays 10 games in a row where there's a single person that's like, hey man, why don't you lay off? They're going to shut the fuck up on game 11. They're not even going to do it. You're not going to convince them of anything.
I respect a lot of things that Dr. K says, but this does not work. And there's a ton of evidence in Spawntaneous' videos that it doesn't work. All it does is make the guys madder or push them to do more of what she wants them to stop doing. Even if the guy is told to stop during a bunch of games, he would never get that 10 games in a row, especially because these kinds of ideas are losing the cultural narrative. Also, not only that, but you're infantilizing women by saying that some other guy should solve the problem for them.
And I mean, this is why it actually hurts women. I mean, and on the surface of it, it looks like, oh, look, women are wielding this incredible power, but the truth is that it actually hurts women. It infantilizes women.
She was talking about Title IX here, but this infantilization applies in a lot of places. Women are strong enough to handle these situations on their own. That's my whole argument, and that's why I'm talking about how to be respected in male-dominated spaces. I honestly don't see how all the people who are saying that women aren't strong enough to handle this themselves are the ones who are considered to be not sexist. You are calling women weak by constantly solving their problems for them. And what I also don't like is when they pretend that these people are 100% the victim and have never engaged in bad behavior themselves. I already showed you some of that, but here's Spawntaneous bullying a kid.
Wait, are you a girl?
Can't talk right now, killing people.
Oh, girls that kill people. Hot. You're not gonna call bully hunters on us, are you?
You're probably gonna go in a video.
Yeah.
though.
How about you toxic guys shut up?
Hey, we're just trying to be nice to a lady. Jeff can't get a lady. It's J rules to
Shut
you.
up.
I want to watch the video. I want to reflect on my choices as a 15-year-old man.
One of the many examples of the Dr. K strategy not working. But geez, that kid is 15. You recorded this when you were 25. You're like a full-on decade older than him, and you're pulling this crap? What are you doing? There's a lot of missing context here, but what she did end up showing in her video wasn't even harassment. It was just a joke he said that wasn't funny. And I don't care if he said some of the worst things to you. He's a child, and everyone says dumb stuff when they're teenagers. You don't put him on blast on your YouTube channel with his username for everyone to see. Grow up. It would be one thing if he was an adult, but like I said, you are straight up a decade older than this kid, and you are putting a minor in a video to be publicly shamed. This is not the only time she's done this. Here's her bullying a kid again.
Glasses, you gotta hit those. Oh, Hibana hits me. On your left, on your left. Laying down,
Shut your mouth, kid, please!
Hey, on the left, laying down.
Remember, this is a 25-year-old yelling at a kid who sounds like he hasn't even finished puberty yet and probably doesn't know any better. So she yells at him instead of politely asking him to not speak so much, which is the behavior that she wants from male players. Now, these videos are a few years old, so I considered giving her some leeway, but she pretty much pulls this stuff in newer videos too. Honestly though, Ludwig, this is your model citizen? Where's the girl version of It's Timmy who is never rude to anyone, going along her merry way, and unfairly gets attacked by misogynists? That's what these people are suggesting is what happens, yet I have never seen it. In every example they have given, if you watch these people long enough, they are initiating and engaging in toxic behavior too. And frequently. Oh, and here's something interesting.
You know, it's a similar thing that kids deal with. I had a problem when I was young where I had a squeaker voice and I would talk and I would get roasted because of my squeaker voice. It's like an intrinsic quality about me and not because I am dog shit at the video game. I am cool with people being mean because I am bad or do something dumb. I am not cool with people being mean because I have a trait that I cannot change about myself.
Here's Spawntaneous making fun of someone's voice.
Alibi, you're a duty booty, bro. Oh my god.
It says your voice.
What? That is not nice. That was uncalled for in so many ways.
As you can see, we have a guy here who is engaging in acceptable commentary about her bad gameplay, and she retaliates by making fun of his voice, which Ludwig said was not okay. As I said, this stuff wasn't that hard to find. It was in the video that comes immediately before the one that Ludwig used for his video on me. So this was recent. Now I'm sure she will say, well, that guy said some rude stuff too. I was taken out of context. Yeah, but he said that stuff after she made fun of his voice. She started it. You can't complain that your house burned down when you threw gasoline on the fire. Seriously, Ludwig, this girl is a terrible representation of your values. Also, do you guys remember how Ludwig said it was not okay to make gendered insults?
And the amount of gendered harassment has increased from 20% to 33% among those who were harassed from 2017 to 2020. So it turns out that this is becoming more of a problem.
Well, here's Spawntaneous throwing a gendered insult at a male player.
Did you hear my question?
Do you want me to compare them to your tiny or what?
I had to remove context from that clip because of the wonderful unintended consequences of YouTube censorship, but she said that in response to someone asking about the size of a body part of hers. Certainly, I think that question from that guy was inappropriate, and you might say, well, she's just reacting, so it's fair game. No, it's not fair game. You said those kinds of insults were not okay. That was your moral standard. Personally, for me, my moral standard is that in public conversation where you're arguing against someone who disagrees with you, it is inappropriate to name call. That's not everyone's moral standard, but it is mine. During these reactions over the past month and a half, I got called all kinds of names. Do you see me calling anyone stupid? Do you see me telling people that my opponents have a mental disability like Down syndrome or autism? Have I made fun of anyone for appearance factors they can't change in this video? No, but these were all things that were done to me by other YouTubers and their followers. Followers as in, the people they are trying to convince to not harass anyone. So there's a communication fail from those creators. The reason I don't do that stuff in retaliation is because I want people to uphold my moral standards. People don't listen to what you say. They watch what you do, and by retaliating with the behavior that you said was wrong, you're approving of it. Oh, and by the way, speaking of framing, I just want to clarify a situation because when I heard this, I got the impression that it happens all the time.
Insane to say I'm surprised. They go on to say some sexist shit, but look at the leaderboard real quick. Fucking hard carried 4 kills in the first round.
As a viewer, I had no idea who Spawntaneous was, so I thought she was this top-ranked badass who was kicking ass and taking names, but still being belittled by male players. But after further investigation, I found that Ludwig did the same exact thing that Vice and the BBC did, which was remove nuance from the situation, which gives the impression that this was a much better player than she actually is. It turns out that Spawntaneous is an average player and gets carried all the time. Carried here, carried here, carried here, and carried here. This is a website that tracks ranked gameplay, and it says her overall rank is Platinum. I don't play Rainbow Six Siege, but I do play Apex Legends. I'm ranked Platinum. As someone who is a similar rank to Spawntaneous at a different game, I have to say, I'm not that good. Ludwig implies that I'm not that good.
Now, the guy who made this video is like gold in Apex Legends.
Seriously, if Ludwig did more than 5 seconds of research for this video and just checked my community tab, he would see that 4 posts down I said I hit Platinum last season. So why does she get to be made to look like one of the best players, yet you make me look like I'm not that good by saying I'm gold, which is very much a normie rank. We are basically the same rank. And she's been playing her game for like twice as long as I've been playing Apex. I haven't even been playing Apex or Battle Royales for 2 years. She has like 4 years of experience at Rainbow Six. She should be ranked way higher, particularly considering that she plays games professionally as a streamer. Oh, and here's essentially why Ludwig brought her up.
I want you guys to note, this is round 1. Round 1 of a competitive game where muting obviously makes you less effective and less able to win a game. Communicating is the main function of winning any 5v5 tactical shooter.
Also, I'm not sure if this was a coincidence or if Ludwig brought her up for this reason, but one of Spawntaneous' clips was in the Vice video. I can't play it because this is 2022 YouTube and I'll get in trouble for playing a clip of something that someone else said, but on screen are the appropriate videos and timestamps. I thought that was an interesting Snapple fact. Anyway, that was their big argument. It's a team game, so you can't mute people. Otherwise, you are way less effective, implying that it's bad to the point where solo queuing is unplayable with teammates on mute. I will admit that I don't know that much about tactical shooters, and I don't know anyone who plays tactical shooters, but it does seem like that particular game type would be hard to play with teammates on mute, so I'll concede that point on tactical shooters. However, I do know Apex Legends, and you 100% can hit her rank, which is Platinum, with everyone muted in solo queue. I know that because I did it. You can probably hit Diamond that way too. Apex has communications and pinging down so well that playing with people who don't even speak the same language as you is not that much of a problem. Yes, you have to be a lot better at the game, but it's not impossible to play with your teammates muted. And if you still have trouble, go find 2 friends so you don't have to play with randoms. It's not impossible to find people to play with regularly. Another game that was mentioned was Fortnite. That's also a battle royale, so I'm sure it's not that much different, and I believe that Maddie from the documentary was playing by herself. Racing games were mentioned. That's an individual game. Arena shooters like Call of Duty are difficult with muted teammates, but it is possible to rank high in those games if you're good. Last was MOBAs like League of Legends, which you can also play with muted teammates and still do well in ranked. Let me just remind you that tactical shooters have the second lowest participation from women. So I'm asking, are you trying to take the one exception to the muting rule and make it seem like it accounts for the entire conversation? Because if that's what you're doing, then that sounds really dishonest. And let me remind you that the purpose of the Vice and the BBC documentaries was to call for censorship. Those are very pro-censorship organizations. Censorship has all kinds of unintended consequences, which is why you have to be extremely careful about its implementation and why I would rather opt for teaching players how to deal with these situations without censorship. Because if we keep going down this route, eventually everything will get censored and eventually we won't be able to say anything. Case in point, let's go back to this line.
I am cool with people being mean because I am bad or do something dumb. I am not cool with people being mean because I have a trait that I cannot change about myself.
Okay, so we've established that it's fine to insult someone if they're bad at the game. Hasan also said something similar in his Twitch reaction to me.
When I, as a dude, get fucking harassed on the internet, okay? People are calling me an idiot, calling me, I don't know, fucking... They're calling me names, okay? That's entirely different than someone fundamentally undermining your existence by one of your intrinsic characteristics, okay?
So we all agree here. They say it's okay to make fun of bad players. I think it's okay to do that as well. Now let's take a look at this. This is a notice that I got from EA Games' Customer Experience team. I have been playing online games my entire life, and this is certainly a first for me. I received a 3-day ban for saying that my teammate was bad at the game. Remember how we all agreed that it was okay to do that? Well, they are still censoring it. And he was bad at the game. In a ranked game, he ran like a mile away from his teammates and let us get jumped by an entire squad, which resulted in us losing a squad member. Should I have communicated that more nicely? Maybe, but does everything have to be sunshine and rainbows all the time? I don't think so, and I know Ludwig's followers don't think so because they have said a lot of mean things about me over the past month. By the way, they should be allowed to say those things because I believe in free speech. Free speech isn't for the speech you like, it's for the speech that you find offensive. So I would much rather resolve this with communication skills instead of censorship. Then we can spend time focusing on the real harassment issues like stalking, physical threats, and doxing. Alright, sorry that was a long segment, but I so often hear, I'm being oppressed, where the person complaining is also abusive. Next point.
Because there's no existing support there, a lot of female gamers don't want to go pro. Genji has been making strong efforts towards building a program of female gamers. Develop them, find coaches, coach up these female talent, scout them out, and then really just make it worth their while to be the nail that sticks out.
Why does it need to be a program of female gamers? Why can't it just be a program of the best players?
They have that. What a useless point. They have both.
What I don't like here is that I made multiple arguments on affirmative action, and he goes for the weaker argument about Gen G. But do you understand how that framing from the Gen G guy is sexist? He said, we have a team of the top 5 players that can be mixed sex, and then we have a team that's only women. Equality would be a male team, a female team, and a team of the best players. Now, it may be the case that all of their top players are male, so they can say, all of our top players are male, so we wanted to try out a team that's just women. That's a good argument. But that's not how it was framed in the news report, and that's the problem I have with it. It was framed, everything is sexist, so we need a women's team. This framing causes division between the sexes, which I honestly think was the purpose of the documentary because mainstream media does that constantly. Though Ludwig does kind of prove my point that affirmative action doesn't actually help people, which I thought was funny.
Gen G has a Valorant team, the normal Valorant team with the best 5 players, nothing special, and it turns out they're kind of fucking dog shit. And they also have a women's Valorant team that's totally separate, that tries to support women to make it more normalized in the space. They're also fucking dog shit. Shout out to Gen G, both teams suck.
I love it when people make my point for me. Maybe Gen G should stick to a narrative that is about merit instead of virtue signaling. By the way, I've used the word framing a lot, which is a media term. If you don't know what that means, framing is basically the way you present an idea. Ideas can be explained or described in lots of ways. Framing is how you choose to do that. Anyway, here's my stronger argument on the affirmative action thing being sexist.
There's mixed views about how to encourage more women into esports. One idea that's been trialled by Formula 1 esports this year is to guarantee a female player a spot in high-profile tournaments.
That is straight up sexism. Giving someone a spot not because of their skill but because they were born a certain gender is sexist and it causes division. So by doing this, you are actually going to create more players who are less welcoming to women because you have made the environment unfair. Last argument from Ludwig.
Maddie even saw this and posted, I'm dying rewatching the video. There's no way this dude takes my portion of a documentary out of context. Who the fuck wouldn't be pissed by not being able to play all 10 of their games because of power outage in a row? What the fuck? I was 2 points away. Yeah, she was basically 2 points away from qualifying. Her row of TVs and monitors shut off, so she couldn't play out her game and then didn't qualify. And his logic to that was try harder and be more like Mr. Beast.
Again, they love to say this when they disagree, despite the validity of their claim. Maddie, you were completely in context. There was a power outage, which I did bring up, so how did I take you out of context? But you still had a chance to qualify. You even said that you had a second chance the next day.
I'm pretty devastated. There was a power outage and I was 8 points away from qualifying top 200, but they didn't give us an extra 30 minutes so I could play my last game. So all in, I guess I'm just ready for tomorrow because I know what to expect and I know I'll qualify if nothing else goes wrong.
Yeah, that situation was unfortunate, but the documentary was about getting women to place. My whole point was that if you couldn't make it easily to the top 200, then you probably weren't going to place.
And his logic to that was try harder and be more like Mr. Beast, which has about as much value as me saying, Jimmy Butler, you should maybe just shoot more three-pointers in practice and try a little bit harder and maybe spend a few more hours, and then maybe you wouldn't have missed this shot in Game 7 against the Celtics. You just didn't want it enough, unlike Mr. Beast, who does want it enough. Maybe next year, who knows?
There is no way you actually agree with this take in its full context. I'll explain what I mean by that, and I'll address the basketball game afterward. Maddie only practices 6 to 8 hours a day. That is not enough, and you have to know that being in the position that you're in as one of the top streamers and a millionaire. And you're also in the competitive Smash community. You don't get to these top positions unless you work all day, not just an 8-hour shift. Here's a little insider information on YouTube. If you want the kind of subscriber count that I have, then you need to make everything about YouTube. YouTube is your entire day. Ludwig, your friend Timmy does that, and I know your friend Hasan does that too.
I'm just a normal dude, okay? As normal as one can be while spending 8 to 12 hours every day on the internet by myself in a room.
And then he goes and exercises, which also counts as work because his appearance has an effect on his viewership. So I have a really hard time imagining that Ludwig thinks that he would be where he is pulling a 6 to 8 hour workday. Let me remind you that even the Cloud9 girls Valorant team says they practice all day.
It can be like a 10 to 14 hour job daily.
As I said in the original video, this sounds like the appropriate amount of practice to win at Esports, and by comparison to the other all-female teams, Cloud9 White seems to do pretty well. So please, no one was taken out of context here. It is not unreasonable to say that if you aren't getting what you want, then put in more effort and find better mentors. This is not a basketball game with a score of 98 to 96 where it was close in the fourth quarter and she messed up at the last moment. She may have been close to the top 200, but she was nowhere near placing in that tournament. And if you want to use a cop-out and say that Fortnite wins are just RNG or random luck, well then why are you trying to make a career out of luck when there are so many other competitive games that aren't luck-based? It seems like a bad decision. Whether or not they agree with my point, it's the framing that I have a problem with. They said I was taking them out of context when I made every effort to not do that, like I always do in my videos, and I linked to the source material in the description so people could fact check it, which, by the way, almost no other YouTubers do. There's a strong culture of not citing any sources on this website, and it's disgusting. Also, saying that there's no information in my video is bad faith framing. Last, I have a problem with him not showing the updated Pew data that I was referring to, and not trying to make his argument stand, even with that inconvenient information. I mean, you couldn't have missed it. It was on page 1. Unless, of course, you didn't actually read the full study.
I'm trying to actually heal the world.
I think he's saying this as a joke towards something else, but I also think he does want to make the world better. I've seen his actions outside of the video that he did on me, and I do think he's doing his best to be a good person. But I think the problem here is that he is unaware of the strategies that lead to a more cohesive group when faced with strong disagreement. It's kind of a major problem in today's world, especially in young people. When you don't take the time to notice the other side of the argument, that divides people. When you say a person can get nothing right or don't make a strong effort to point out good behaviors, you'll radicalize your audience against that person and people like that person. When you attribute malice to someone like saying they hate women because they disagree with your argument, you are radicalizing your audience. That's what cult leaders do to dissenters. That's what warmongers do when they want people to go to war. They always vastly mischaracterize the other side to make their followers believe that their opponent is evil. Speaking of Attack on Titan, because I know Ludwig is a fan of that show.
And I will say, the only other thing that got me through it, Attack on Titan. Attack on Titan is my savior in grace.
That's the metaphor of that show. It shows the evil of mischaracterizing the people you disagree with instead of making a strong effort to understand them and how that leads people to violence. That's all that show is. That's why a guy made a cartoon about a bunch of people with anime Spider-Man gear who kill giants. It's to teach people that lesson. So if you're moved by that show, then pay attention to what it's trying to say.
By the way, I'm like emotionally vulnerable. I cried every episode. I'm not even ashamed to say it. I literally cried every episode of season 2.
The things I mentioned earlier will toxify your audience. Clearly, Ludwig did not convince his audience against harassment. I got constant harassment from them for over a week after his video was made, and even now it hasn't fully died down. They called me all sorts of names, mass flagged my video, and dislike bombed my channel. By the way, side note, one of the more interesting things to come out of this is that your followers are on the left, and even they hate the removal of the dislike button. So many people against me in the comments of that video have said, man, I wish I could see the dislikes. I'm the one who got dislike bombed, and I wish they could see the dislikes too. Here they are. I don't have a screenshot of it, but it was over 95% before Ludwig's reaction. So the next time you interview Susan Wojcicki, please tell her for me that everyone, left, right, and center, creators and viewers, hate the removal of the dislike button, including someone like me who was the victim of dislike bombing. By the way, if we're talking about the mental health of the creators, I've been reacted to a number of times over the years. I have never paid attention to the dislikes. All of my focus goes to the comments. So to me, what seems like a much better mental health choice for creators is to just allow them to mute all the comments from their view from the people who are subscribed to or were recently subscribed to a creator of their choice. That way, if someone who disagrees reacts to a video, people still get to say what they want to say in the comment section, free speech is maintained, but the creator doesn't have to see it. That's a much less authoritarian solution than removing all the comments or disabling important features like the dislikes. Alright, Ludwig segment over. Now let's get to the other people who reacted to my content, who all fall under the same category, which I call first impressions reactions, meaning they have never seen the video before reacting to it in front of their audience. Personally, I have a certain amount of respect for Ludwig because he actually watched the full video before reacting. None of these other people did that, which leads to all sorts of bad arguments when you're faced with a person that you disagree with. Usually, to create a fair argument, I have to watch the source material multiple times. You'll miss a lot of nuance on the first run. So if you were to watch Ludwig's video and then watch the other reactions, you'll notice that Ludwig is way fairer than everyone else, and I believe that is largely due to the simple fact that he watched the entire video before he responded to it. When you don't watch the whole video first, you'll screw up like this. Earlier they said Dota 2, right? What percentage of women play that game? 20%. What about another popular competitive game like Fortnite? 27%. Higher than Dota, but you can still
Wait, 27% only? That's surprising.
see that there are way more male.
Also, why is he fucking mentioning Fortnite? If you're trying to make an argument about like competitive games, why don't you like look for Call of Duty or not Call of Duty, CS:GO and shit? What is the competitive aspect of like Fortnite itself is just a popular fucking shooting game. But what it's not like not exactly like a pop and fucking look at League.
Well, Hasan, the reason I brought that up is because the second half of the video talks about a Fortnite player. Also, I do mention League of Legends. If you pre-watched the video, you would have known why I brought up Fortnite. It's called setup and foreshadowing, which is a basic principle of writing. For example, Season 4 of Stranger Things. Spoiler warning, if you have not seen up to the end of Episode 4 of Season 4 Part 1, there's a timestamp on screen that indicates when I stop talking about it. Anyway, in Season 4 Part 1, a character named Max is shown wearing headphones and listening to music a lot in Episode 1. That does two things. One, it sets up that she's cutting herself off from her friends because of the trauma that she experienced in Season 3. Two, later in that season there is a demon who attacks Max. The way to escape that demon is by listening to music. The heroes figure that information out at the last minute, so the writers had to explain why Max would just so happen to have the one thing that would let her escape the demon right when she needed it. If they didn't show her wearing headphones in Episode 1, then people would say that scene was stupid and not believable. So that's why I brought up the Fortnite stats. It's relevant later in the video. I swear, a lot of these big creators know so little about storytelling that it scares me. Maybe spend a little less time stealing money from the makers of MasterChef and learn how to create a narrative that is actually transformative.
He doesn't seem to be a fan of Twitch. Why? Because there's thoughts on there, and also people steal content probably in his mind.
Yeah, people do steal content on Twitch. A lot. You steal content on Twitch. Didn't you, Pokemon, and Misgift get in trouble recently for copyright violations?
You watch Avatar on Twitch? See, that's another lie. No one would be dumb enough to do that.
This right here is not transformative.
And if we say your food is good or bad, we're right.
Is this like Squid Games?
Know what this is.
So these aren't like professional chefs that they have? Oh my god, they have amateurs operating in like chefing environments, dude. This is gonna be so silly.
You asking, is this Squid Game and going bro a bunch of times is not adding value or changing the source material, so it's not fair use of copyrighted material. 100% of the value of you putting MasterChef on your stream is coming from MasterChef, not your ability to create a narrative from the source material. Also, there are quite a number of women engaged in inappropriate behavior right in front of children on Twitch. Go do that shit on an adult website, not while you're playing Mario Kart. So way to deny the issues of the website that you're on, Hasan. Probably because you're directly benefiting from copyright infringement, which is going to cause companies to crack down more, which will result in an overcorrection that further destroys fair use material. Do we not already have enough people abusing Content ID on YouTube? Do you really want to expand that to other areas?
It's crazy, like watching stuff like the totally not Mark, right, with like
Yeah.
Toei.
Yeah.
Just like nuking his channel.
Yeah.
For like talking about One Piece.
Yeah, for not even breaking DMCA.
You know, and then the Twitch streamers just go and watch the entirety of Hunter x Hunter. It's so dumb, and the
It's
fact that people
really
are trying
dumb.
to argue it's fair use or anything is just so stupid. I don't know. It just seems selfish to me.
It is.
And the fact that everyone's trying to call it a meta and play a joke with it and stuff is really frustrating.
And this is where I move on from my good opinion of Ludwig as a person to my not so good opinion of Hasan as a person. Not everything is bad about Hasan, though. I watched him give advice on achieving goals. That was pretty good.
You know, you can build healthy habits, build short-term goals, and achieve them, and achieve midterm goals, and ultimately achieve long-term goals. And the more you, it's like a video game. The more you fucking unlock quests and finish them, the better you feel. So, and the more confident you become as a consequence of that, because no matter what happens, you're like, well, dude, I did all this shit. You know, this is me. I'm able to do this.
Very nice. He also tells people to leave creators that he criticizes alone.
Here's what we're not going to do. We're not going to fucking poke, okay? I was thinking about this a lot. Here's one thing that we always in this community fuck up on. We can stand from the sidelines and watch cringe shit together, but never tap the glass. You always tap the fucking glass. You need to stop it because that's the quickest way. That's the quickest way to stop the shit dead in its tracks. Never tap unless I tell you to, okay?
I'm going to forget that last part where he says it's okay to attack other creators if he says so, and just take the argument in the spirit it was intended. Jeez, Hasan, I had this timestamp from over a month ago to make you look good, and I go back and watch it and realize that you screwed it up. Let's forgive him though. He's trying to say something good here. Anyway, I agree. When I make a video on someone, do not blow up their comment section with negative posts or dislike bomb their videos or send them nasty emails. That's very low class. So I appreciate that he said some good stuff, but man, when Hasan is going against someone he doesn't like, he turns into a demon. This guy constantly doesn't pay attention to the video and then accuses me of saying something completely horrendous that I didn't say. Here's an example of that.
I'd never understand this argument because, like, what's the take? Is it that, like, women are incapable of being good at video games? Like, are you 12? Like, what, you think their brains are stupid or dumber or something? I don't get it.
How in the hell do you get that from this video? Maybe watch more than 1 minute and 40 seconds of a 38-minute video before you make horrendous claims like that about the person you're criticizing. Because in reality, I fully believe that women are capable of being competitive in these spaces. That's why I said they don't need to be held up by sexist affirmative action practices, and it's why I spent time talking about the kind of work required to be successful in a very competitive field. You are radicalizing your audience by accusing me of things that I obviously don't believe. If you don't want your audience to tap the glass, then stop wildly mischaracterizing your opponents. Because when you make those kinds of comments, you are gearing them up to attack people because they think they are going after someone who is evil. The left and the mainstream media constantly do that by calling everyone alt-right. Even to the point where they called Ben Shapiro alt-right. Are you kidding me? He's Jewish. Do you not know the beliefs of the alt-right? But remember, the goal of all these reactions is to stop harassment. Way to lead by example, Hasan. You spent the entire video harassing me by your definition, and you made fun of my skin color, which communicates to your audience that this is desirable behavior.
When I make fun of, like, pasty little shit-skin incels, how are you like a 14-year-old pasty little incel on the internet? Shut the fuck up, you stupid, cringe, weirdo nerd, dude. You are just a pussy, dude.
You're a millionaire streamer with a huge following. Do you think people aren't looking up to you and copying your behavior? If you make arguments against people by mudslinging and calling your opponents names, then your audience is going to repeat that behavior. I mean, he is so bad with this stuff that one of his followers even called him out on it.
Hasan, I look up to you, but relax with these personally attacking people that have different opinions with you. It only makes people that have these ideas to turn off and reject your opinion, even if your opinion's right. Again, I respect and I know you mean the best, and you do get hate for bringing up these huge issues for change. We must keep them open-minded. Okay, guys, don't bully this person, okay? I think this is productive and constructive commentary. I don't think this person is criticizing me out of a malicious reason. I think he's saying that when I make fun of, like, pasty little shit-skin incels, I am going to less likely to turn... I'm going to be less likely at turning them around and having them recognize the error in their ways. I do think you're right. I admit, I do think you're right. It's something that I'm aware of, okay? It's something that I am aware of. But honestly, if you're this much of a fucking horrid misogynistic weirdo, then, you know, making fun of you is fine. It's entertainment. You know what I mean?
Yeah, except I'm not a misogynist. I say good things about women all the time, and I've never taken the position of women are lesser than men, nor did I say women should not be allowed in the competitive space like you falsely accused me of saying. For fuck's sake, you people are ridiculous. I mean, this logo you see here on my channel was drawn by a woman. If I had a terrible opinion of women, then why would I pay one to do art for my channel? And yes, she watches my videos. The only reason Hasan called me a misogynist is because he doesn't like my opinion, which is kind of a shitty thing to do. Then you called Melanie Mack a pick-me for agreeing with me and voicing an opinion that tons of women have.
And stop calling everyone a misogynist because they make a get in the kitchen joke on Xbox Live. It ain't that deep. It's a joke.
This is awesome, bro. He went and found the one pick-me argument, dude. That's great.
This is arguably quite sexist because it's like saying that as a woman, she's not allowed to have a different opinion from yours unless she has it for a bad reason. But in reality, it turns out that lots of women disagree with Hasan. Are all of them pick-me's?
You know, liberals don't even like Vaush.
Yeah,
Liberals
exactly.
Don't
I'm
even
like,
like Hasan. No. There are liberals who prefer to listen to Tim Pool all day than Hasan Piker and Vaush.
I'm not saying that I agree with Ashton's characterization, but take that as an example that there are tons of women who disagree with your viewpoints. Anyway, after seeing Hasan's air quote self-critique talking about his name-calling behavior, I watched his followers say, "See, he admits to mistakes and is working on his behavior." True, he did admit to bad behavior, but that's not what counts. What counts is that right after he admitted to it, he immediately went back to the bad behavior and then tried to justify it. The self-critique doesn't matter if there's no changed behavior. Hasan is like the abusive boyfriend who promises he won't hit his girlfriend again, and then does it the next day while saying, "Well, you deserved it because you said something I didn't like." Like, holy crap, this guy has a lot of abuser patterns, and that's outside of all the messed up stuff he said in the past, like America deserved the attack on the Twin Towers, or laughing at the death of Herman Cain because he disagreed with his political views. But remember, this is all about harassment. So how does Hasan define harassment?
Obviously, there's harassment and toxicity against everyone. Come on, we've all fucking played video games. There's psychos no matter what. But that gets way worse when they're hitting you on the virtue of being a woman. That's a little bit more, that's a little different. It's not just like you're getting abused. You're not just getting harassed. You're getting like additionally harassed automatically. You're like,
so it's not okay to aim an insult at a woman on the basis of her being a woman. He is essentially saying what Ludwig said, which is that gendered insults are not appropriate. But let me ask you this. How many times did he call me an incel during this video? There's an archive of it on YouTube that I'll link in the description, but it's edited, so it might not have every instance. However, he calls me that at least dozens of times. That's a gendered insult that is attacking someone on the basis of them being a man, because women don't get called incels. Here's Hasan admitting that incel is a gendered insult towards men.
Okay, to be fair, no one is fucking shitting on women and by telling them like, "Oh, I bet you never fuck." You know what I mean?
Jeez, this guy is like doing a speed run to step all over his principles. And look, here he is doing it again. I wasn't even looking for this. Just like with Spawntaneous, I didn't have to go through his entire internet history to find the one example of him breaking his principles. I found this randomly, which means he probably breaks this principle a lot.
I'm not crazy, right? Like, she looks too much like Ben Shapiro. Because when I first was made aware of this woman, whose name is Brett Cooper, I guess, I literally thought, like, she works for the Daily Wire, and I literally thought, like, oh, this is Ben Shapiro on, like, one of those, like, gender swap apps or something, like, deep faked. Or, like, just a deep fake. Like, they put, like, Ben Shapiro's face on a woman's body. So, let's talk about Brenda Shapiro. Like, it's fucking freaking me out. I can't look at this anymore. It's hurting my fucking brain. Seeing how much she looks like Ben Shapiro, it's weird.
Let me ask, is that an appearance factor that she can change? Well, that's rhetorical because the answer is no. So why is Hasan making fun of her appearance, saying that she looks like a man, and saying that her appearance is causing him a disgust response? Gee, that sounds super empathetic of you.
A part of my content straight up is to try and show you that, like, no, I am, you can be a cool person and be empathetic. And
I think it's a crime to associate Hasan with the word empathy. You obviously don't care about the use of these insults because you use them all the time against people who disagree with you. All you've done here is say, it's wrong if you guys use these insults against me, but I can go ahead and use them against you whenever I want, and that's incredibly hypocritical. Hasan also has that same issue that I mentioned before, which is that no matter what I say, I'm always wrong. Even when we agree on stuff, he always has to make me look like trash. Like be a nurse. That's a pretty lateral move from fitness. Nurses also make a ton of money, and they have a lot of flexibility in their schedule.
He's like so condescendingly like offering her career advice. I don't even think she's going to be successful in whatever the she's doing either, but like, Jesus Christ, dude.
He did that a bunch in this stream. For context, there was a girl from a video I did who wanted to be a successful social media influencer, and it was very clear that she was not going to be successful based on her personality. For the record, I'm not stupid. I expect zero of the people who I make videos on to take any advice that I offer them. The advice is not for them. It's for people who are having similar issues. I am being super critical of people because that's the type of critique that is required to make people successful. Almost everyone who that criticism is aimed at will get offended and reject everything you say, especially the people I cover who are constantly in denial about everything. Again, it's weird that a creator who is as popular as Hasan is doesn't know something like this. I mean, we are talking about basic influencing techniques. Read a book on psychology. All of the advice I give is aimed at people watching the video with an example they can disassociate from, so they don't instantly reject what I'm saying because the commentary is not directed at them. Here's the funny part though. The guy who makes money off streaming full uncut episodes of MasterChef says bruh a bunch of times and then calls that work, calls my content lazy.
It literally is like, it's so lazy. This kind of argument is so lazy because you already have a built-in audience for it, okay? It's my least favorite type of fucking content. You're trafficking this argument to an audience that is already receptive to it, that already has that fucking attitude. So you're not even fucking trying.
Dude, you're doing a first impressions reaction. Tons of my videos take longer just to timestamp than it took you to react to 2 of my videos. Not to mention outlining, writing, assembling all the video clips, fact-checking and proofreading, recording, editing, fact-checking again, and watching the video at least twice before the upload to check for errors. These videos are a shitload of work. This is also super ironic coming from Hasan because the way he frames his arguments leads to the kind of audience that he's talking about. The minute you start name-calling, no one on the opposing side is going to listen to you. I mean, you are even pissing off your own following by doing that. This kind of content is not welcoming to people who disagree with you, so they aren't going to watch your stream. Because of the terrible way you treat your opponents, it's only going to appeal to people who already like what you have to say, or people who are too young to have formed an opinion. And holy crap, there were so many points where Hasan was like, oh my god, I got this sick burn on him. I bet he would be so mad about this. For example,
why are you so scared? Are you scared that women are going to fucking own you? Are they going to teabag you? That's going to hurt your fucking soul? It's going to hurt your feelings, break your soul, crush you? Is that what it is? It's all good, brother. For the record, I 100% stand by this. Every single girl in that fucking video would wreck this dude. 1,000,000%.
No shit. They are professionals. If you're a professional and you can't absolutely wreck an average player, then quit. A professional getting wrecked by a normie would be like me getting wrecked by someone in views who does YouTube as a hobby. I mean, what kind of argument is this? I never said I was good enough to compete against professional competitors. Also, teabagging is hilarious. If a girl got a sweet kill on me and then teabagged right after, I would laugh my ass off. Look, Spawntaneous from earlier did some teabagging in this video here. That was funny. She actually earned some respect from me for doing that. Okay, final point for Hasan, then we'll transition to Vaush. I feel like I have to mention it because both Hasan and Ludwig seem to think that this was an amazing burn. This is in reference to It's Timmy, the Apex Legends player.
He clearly likes Timmy too. I'm assuming this dude likes Apex Legends and watches It's Timmy. That's why he posted this. That's why he put it in here. Luckily, I know who Timmy is. He's a sweetheart. I love him. Let me just say real quick that Timmy would fucking despise this dude. Okay? So that's number one. You know, he's a wonderful person. I'm just going to point that out. He would fucking literally absolutely fucking hate this person.
What's apparent about a lot of these creators is that they have zero respect for the intelligence of their opponent. I know that Timmy's beliefs are different than mine. He's on Twitch. Twitch is a giant echo chamber for the left. In terms of people who are popular on Twitch, probably the closest thing you'll get to a conservative is Charlie White, and he's a centrist. Right-wing people aren't big on Twitch, so I know Timmy disagrees with me politically. That's why I put him in the video. But Hasan makes it seem like I've built an altar to Timmy in my mother's basement, and I was thinking that if I just put Timmy in a video, Senpai would notice me and we could finally be best friends and play Apex together. Come on, this is my profession. I know how this business works. Because of a bunch of assholes polarizing everyone politically, I know there are tons of people who I watch that I will never be able to talk to because we have different political beliefs. Things weren't always like that, by the way. People who had different beliefs used to be able to get along. Do you know what ruined that? It's statements like this.
Now, the guy who made this video is like gold in Apex Legends and looks up to Timmy because he went from bronze to predator. And I want you to know, man, Timmy doesn't give a fuck about you and probably thinks you're a piece of shit for your ideas. I wouldn't use him as examples because I don't think he's on your side, brother.
What kind of messed up statement is that? I used Timmy in that video on purpose because I knew he was on the opposing ideological side. Are you saying that I can't say good things about people because they don't have the same beliefs as me? Clearly, that's something that you think because you said nothing good about me. Neither did Hasan unless he was joking. Meanwhile, I've said something good about every person in this video. Oh wait, I forgot Maddie. That's more difficult because there's not as much information on her, but she does have a little bit of a Twitch and a YouTube following, and for her size, a lot of her graphics like her intro clips, banners, and thumbnails are really good. Speaking of Maddie, the only slight point that Ludwig gave me was agreeing that Maddie's coach sucked. No, that's not your job, and if you think it is, then you're an assistant, not a coach.
Fair enough.
This point was quite subtle, and he insults me immediately after saying it, so I'm not sure whether to count it or not. But do you not see how your statement about Timmy is a problem? We don't agree on certain issues, but I very much want to bring this world back to a place where people who disagree can still talk to each other. For that to occur, there needs to be some sort of mutual respect. The Zoomers might not remember this because it happened a while ago, but I want the world to go back to a place where Ben Shapiro can have a fervent disagreement with Piers Morgan about weapons, but then shake hands on the Sunday special when it comes to free speech.
The most important thing is to maintain the ability to have a democratic debate with people and to be able to sit with people that you fundamentally don't agree with and to listen to things that you find fundamentally offensive, but actually respect someone's right to think differently to you.
That's how things used to be not a decade ago. A part of restoring that is saying, hey, you see this guy Timmy? He's on the left, but he did this really cool thing right here and handled this abusive player pretty well. Do you think a better world is one where I don't say good things about people simply because we don't have the same ideas? Honestly, I was unhappy about Hasan saying things I didn't actually say and for mischaracterizing me, but the most offensive comment I heard was from Ludwig saying that I shouldn't use people on the opposing side as a good example of moral behavior. And after reading a lot of comments around this, I think a pretty sizable amount of people agree with Ludwig's sentiment. That was a strong black pill moment, and I'm spending so much time on this video because I don't want to live in a world where people are only around people they agree with. And here's the big issue with all these reactions. None of these people have really watched any of my content, and it's very apparent. This is compared to how much of people's content that I watch before I make a video on them. Because before I make a depiction on who that person is, I want to make damn sure that I don't just feel that way simply because I watched a bad video of theirs, or a viewer of mine said, hey, watch this one video from this creator. It's super offensive and I know you won't like it. Can you see how unfair that is? Well, that is essentially every one of these reactions. You were specifically sent that video because the person who sent it to you knew you would think it was bad, so if you only watch that one video, you're going to have a very negative opinion of the person that you're reacting to, which is why I didn't only watch one video from any of the people in this reaction. I watched like 20 of Ludwig's videos, I watched about 10 of Spawntaneous' videos, and I watched like 5 of Maddie's videos. Hasan and Vaush are a little more difficult to count by videos because one video can be hours long, but I've watched at least 10 hours of Hasan's content, and I've probably watched about 15 hours of Vaush's content. None of these people did that for me. They want to talk about compassion, fairness, and morality when they haven't even done the bare minimum to interpret their opponents fairly. I mean, people in Timmy's comments on Twitter were bragging about how little of my video they watched before they created a negative opinion on me. Do you think maybe your lack of research and investigation might be affecting your followers' actions? There was even a creator who ran a contest to see how little of my video he could make it through before calling me a bad person and quitting.
Austin showed me this channel that some streamers have been watching called Think Before You Sleep. And he said he doesn't think I'll make it past 3 minutes.
Spoilers, he didn't finish the video. Hasan didn't watch the full video either on both occasions, and in fact, during the cut video he reacted to, he pressed play and just walked out of the room to do something else.
First I gotta go pee, but while this plays, but I can't wait to hear this. This is Zoomer insult shit, apparently.
Like, I was nice to him.
Man, if I could have followed this clip with her saying, I'm so wonderful, why won't anyone date me? Oh, but certainly he rewinded, right? No, he didn't, and he actually walks away from the stream while my video is playing multiple times. And oh my god, does he make so many bad arguments because he wasn't paying attention to the video. And I know he didn't watch the video before the stream because he said this.
Last night was nothing. I was just like fucking sitting around watching TV shows, trying to figure out something to do, and being incredibly bored. I was so bored I started watching YouTube videos by myself. Like, I've never done that before. I have not done that in a very long time. You know what I mean? Like, I felt weird watching a YouTube video off stream. Like, at this point, if I watch a YouTube video off stream, I'm like, what? Why am I doing this? This is weird. I need to be watching it on stream.
None of these people really watched my content before calling me all sorts of horrible things, including Ludwig. Credit where credit is due though, because at least he did watch the full video before reacting, but he posted his video like 16 hours after Timmy's tweet that was posted at 10:26 p.m., which means many of those hours he was probably sleeping, and in reality, he likely only spent a few hours on his video. There is no way he spent time going through my other content in an attempt to have a more fair viewpoint of my beliefs before he made his reaction. Like I said, that video was specifically handpicked as something that Ludwig would not like. Do you know how terrible my opinion of Ludwig would be if I only watched one of his videos? That's not what I did though. As I said, I watched around 20 of them, and typically what happens is the more I watch of someone, the less radical my opinions of them become. After watching more of his content, I ended up saying, you know what? I didn't like this video that he made here, but outside of that, we actually agree on a lot. This guy isn't so bad, and it looks like he tries to help people. That happens all the time when I make videos, and none of these creators are doing that. This communicates to their followers that they shouldn't investigate people thoroughly before forming an opinion on them, which radicalizes people. No wonder so many of their followers were bragging about how they didn't watch any of my content and then proceeded to call me all kinds of names instead of commenting with actual criticism against my ideas. That behavior is being modeled by the creators they look up to. With that said, I think that Vaush is best for the final section of the video because he perfectly embodies someone jumping to the wrong conclusion in a ton of places when the smallest amount of investigation would have led him to the correct answer. Now, I'm not really going to spend time reacting to his arguments. Much like Hasan, half of Vaush's arguments are name-calling, so I didn't really find any strong counter-arguments that weren't just him misrepresenting what I said. A reason for that is because on many occasions he wasn't paying attention or remembered things incorrectly and didn't go back to fact-check them, which resulted in him saying a ton of wrong stuff. Because of that, we are primarily going to talk about his behaviors. Here's Vaush.
Obviously, she thinks she's cute, that's for sure. All these different angles and all that.
Dude, he is.
Oh, when I learned that this is how femoids do it, hold on. When I learned this is how femoids do it, they'll take like 50 selfies and they'll choose the best one.
Alright, I know that was a bunch of nothing, but I showed that to illustrate just how much he interrupts the intro clip, which was 25 seconds. He paused the video roughly 3 times during that time period. Then he hits this part. I know I only showed 1 clip of him compared to the 3 clips I showed of her, but everything he said about her was so mild. He even compliments her.
What even happened? What even happened to warrant the reaction here? Like, it's a whole cut video, and he pulled 1 5-second clip of her being like, I don't know, this is weird. And that... Okay.
Yeah, it's because you paused the video like a million times and weren't paying attention. The intro hook clip was 25 seconds, not 5. But did he go back and look for context and try to better understand what was being argued? No, he just accused me of being off the rails and moved on. Let me show you the full clip to add context to why I called her a hypocrite.
You're going to be putting yourself out there by letting your date go through your phone before they meet you. Okay, she's gonna look through your phone first.
I feel like he is shorter than me. He has the weirdest shit in here. Dude, he screenshots everything. Like, it's just a slight bit creepy.
Obviously, she thinks she's cute, that's for sure. All these different angles and all that.
Dude, he is so judgy. Like, I was nice to him.
Do things make more sense now? She said all of these rude things and yet accuses him of being the rude one with no self-awareness of her own behavior by saying she was being nice. She wasn't being nice. Neither of them were nice. That was the point of the video. Let's go back to the Pew study for a second. Men actually get harassed more, but women complain more about being harassed. Perfect example of that. She rudely commented on his height by effectively calling him short, which is an intrinsic quality that he can't change, while he made fun of her phone not being charged and taking too many pictures, which is something that she can change. I'm going to remove Vaush from this part of the conversation because I don't know his opinion on it, but by Ludwig and Hasan's definition, the comments that she levied against him were worse. Anyway, back to my argument about Vaush not paying attention. This is why these first impression reactions are a trash format for producing fair arguments and framing your opponents properly. So many people in my comment section were like, Wow, dude, Vaush owned you, bro. No, he didn't. He wasn't paying attention half the time, and he made up a bunch of crap that I didn't say. Hasan did the same thing. The only person who did pay attention was Ludwig, and that's because he reacted in a different format and actually did some preparation. Now, I don't agree with most of what he had to say, but at least I didn't watch him spending half the video fumbling all over himself like Vaush and Hasan. To further illustrate my point, here's Vaush not paying attention again.
What do you look for in a partner?
Someone that's also open and honest.
Actions speak louder than words.
What? Wait, again, what? Wait, what did she do that wasn't open and honest? Wait, we're just seeing like random clips taken. What did she do that wasn't open and honest?
He flat out admits that he wasn't paying attention here, so let me explain it to you. Chloe says she's looking for a partner who is honest. Austin says things that are honest and she immediately gets offended. Actions speak louder than words. She says she wants honesty, but her behaviors show that she doesn't. Compared to Austin, where she's dissing his height and suggesting that he's weak, but he just makes fun of himself and laughs it off.
Are you ready to go into the other room?
Sure. I'm ready to make a fool of myself.
He says he works out.
Yeah, a little bit, it looks like.
Yep. Yeah, she's yoked.
I'm bigger than you.
She could beat the shit out of me for sure.
I feel like he is shorter than me.
How tall are you, Chloe?
I'm 5'10".
Oh yeah, she'd fucking tower right over me.
That's a guy who can handle honesty, and this is what I was talking about with the Rainbow Six player Spawntaneous, who makes videos of all the commentary she gets during gameplay. These people have very little ability to make a joke at their own expense, and it's why they get messed with way more than they should by other players. Meanwhile, Austin here is laughing and having fun at this silly cut experiment, while Chloe gets mad when he says something that she doesn't like. Now, Vaush is a professional. I shouldn't have to sit here and explain the context because his format is terrible and he wasn't paying attention. By the way, I'm not saying that you have to quit your job to be fair. I'm saying make a slight change. Just watch the video before you react to it on stream. You can double speed the video and finish it in like 10 minutes. This is not that much work for an hour and 16 minutes of content. But maybe that is too much to ask. After all, Vaush is so lazy that he does this.
I don't think we can ever trust the content of this video based on his description that he doesn't show, because he will like flagrantly lie about and mischaracterize even the shit he does show, right?
Big self-report and projection from Vaush here. I know it's a lot of work, but if you watch the cut video, watch my video, and then watch Vaush's reaction, you'll see tons of times where he does exactly this to me. And it gets better. Here's the lazy part.
For all we know, in the original cut video, which I am not going to watch because I do not care, like, everything that he doesn't show plays out way differently or whatever. But, you know, it's impossible to say. I don't care.
Vaush, the cut video is like 6 minutes. That's 3 minutes of your time if you speed it up. You didn't even have to look the video up because I linked it in the description. I couldn't have made it any easier for you, and this is not that much work to fact check. Yet Vaush will do his show and accuse me of taking people out of context when he didn't even watch the source material to verify if his statement was true or not. This is a horrible way to treat your opponents. Again, I couldn't have made it any easier for him to see if the clips were taken out of context or not. Really, he's just telling you to not trust him when he says he does research. But I swear I almost got brain damage from how many times I had to facepalm from people saying, "Dude, Vaush destroyed you, bro." Like I said, half the video he's not even paying attention. The other parts he's using ad hominem attacks or name-calling instead of making an argument. Then he accuses me of things I don't believe, followed by stepping on his own morals. Speaking of...
No, yeah, I said this before, Shu, but it reminds me of Teal Deer, where he'll pause every, 8 nanoseconds on an Anita Sarkeesian video to, wildly misinterpret everything being said very arrogantly, you know?
Says the guy who paused a 25-second clip several times, and for over an hour, made up a bunch of things I didn't say. Another self-report and projection from Vaush. That being said, now it's time to compliment Vaush. I have to admit that I had a certain idea of what his reaction was going to be, and it turned out that a part of that idea was wrong. I actually gained some respect for Vaush after watching this, because he did what really none of the other creators did. Vaush spent a lot of time pointing out parts where he agreed with me, and he wasn't subtle about it either. Here's one example of this. Tons of women out there are okay with dating a guy who is 2 or 3 inches shorter, which is within Austin's range. Everyone has those little gray areas of things they will accept that are outside of their preferences.
Okay.
What makes people go against their physical preferences? A person's personality.
This is true. People are way more judgy about physical gatekeeping when they don't know who the person is. But if you know who a person is and you like them and their personality, people are usually way more willing to be permissive of like different appearance things or whatever. That's totally true. Yeah.
I couldn't believe it. I've watched so many videos of people reacting to me where they just say, absolutely nothing is good about this guy. He is a demon and you must hate him. So it was refreshing to see at least one of them give me some points, which softens up a lot of the bad faith framing that Vaush perpetrated in this video. I will say that if you want a lot of examples of Vaush giving points to an opponent, then the other video of mine he reacted to about the hot ape lady and Marnie Kinrys is a better example. He agrees with me a lot in that video. I still have issues with him because he constantly argues in bad faith, but credit where credit is due. He gave his audience a chance to see me in a good light, which leads to less radicalization, and I appreciate that. Speaking of him reacting to the hot ape video where I talked about dating coaches who give terrible advice, here's something that I thought was funny, which is completely missing the point when it comes to people who actually need this product.
Oh no, wait, he's correct about this as well. The framework that she's laying out can be useful in some circumstances, but there are underlying levels of charisma that you need to have mastered before any of this can work. Oh no. Oh, God! I wonder if I would have been more charitable to him from the beginning if I had known more about her.
Yes, you would have. That's my point. I mean, you're a professional. Do some prep work and research before your show. Get to know someone before you speak about them in front of an audience. Now, just for transparency, I did cut that clip short because I wanted people to focus specifically on that part. He immediately takes the comment back and calls me a name. Alright, as I begin to wrap this video up, I want to go over what I believe Vaush felt his strongest argument against me was. This was kind of difficult because there was no clear-cut moment where it was like, man, you got me, like Hasan and Ludwig did with the Timmy clip. Most of Vaush's arguments were insults, projections, him saying things that I didn't say, him stepping on his morals, and him constantly showing that he wasn't paying attention. So I don't feel like there was a strong gotcha moment from Vaush in his reactions, but what I will do is have him explain why he doesn't like my channel.
The incel stuff, like all of the related political points, touch on real issues, but then the people pick up on them with like absolutely batshit advocacy, right? Like there is real stuff to be said about male loneliness and about unfair judgment towards men's appearances and towards dating apps and towards like all this crap, you know. And then they pick it up and they're just insane about it, you know.
Strange, because that's my exact problem with feminism. That's also the problem I had with the Vice and the BBC documentaries. They said the issue was that women aren't winning esports tournaments. And yeah, I can agree that's a problem. If there are women who want to win and they aren't winning, that's an issue. Which is why I spent 15 minutes of that video talking about how to develop the kind of skill required to be a success in a super competitive market. A lot of women watched that video and understood that, but what the BBC said was batshit crazy.
There's mixed views about how to encourage more women into esports. One idea that's been trialled by Formula 1 esports this year is to guarantee a female player a spot in high-profile tournaments.
They said that if women aren't winning, then we should give them a top spot even if they didn't earn it. That idea is called affirmative action. This kind of thinking is a very common belief of the left. It's present everywhere, and it's screwing up society. The first thing it does is immediately piss off the people who were qualified but didn't get the position because they were born into the wrong sex or race. That's why I say that affirmative action is a divide and conquer strategy from the media and politicians to make people hate each other so they don't pay attention to all the evil things that the media and politicians are doing. Second, you will really screw things up when you hire based on race and gender instead of how qualified the person is for the job. That will collapse society. It's certainly collapsing Hollywood. How many crappy movies have we had to suffer through because of the diversity hiring that leads to nobody knowing what they're doing, and because those people care more about the agenda than making content people want to see? I don't think there's any bigger evidence that these programs don't work than watching tons of Hollywood movies tank. So, Vaush makes a lot of assumptions. I think it's fine to make assumptions. The big problem I have with Vaush, though, is that he makes very little effort to make sure his assumptions are correct, so a lot of them end up being completely wrong. As far as I can see, Vaush didn't actually spell out what my insane solutions to the problem were. Because of that, I'm going to have to make an assumption on what Vaush thinks I believe, based on things he said in this video. I think this is most indicative of how he characterizes me.
This channel is to get angry at women existing. Like, nothing in this channel makes sense at all. Like, it's completely disconnected from reality, unless you have a pre-existing hatred of women, in which case everything here just exists to make you go like, you know, like get really seethingly angry at it, you know?
Guess what, Vaush? It turns out that my content appeals to lots of women. Here's my audience metrics for the past 28 days, ending the day before Ludwig made his reaction video. About 20% of my audience is female here, and typically my female audience is around 15 to 20%. That's incredibly high considering that my content is marketed primarily to things that men care about. Even still, tons of women watch this channel and agree with me. So you're wrong, Vaush, and so are all the other people who said that my channel only appeals to men. Now here's where I'm going to make the assumption of what Vaush thinks I believe. Multiple times Vaush has characterized me as like a basement-dwelling incel who has never talked to a girl before and sits on Reddit all day. Personally, I don't have any involvement with that community, so I don't understand their beliefs all that well, but I have heard things over the years. I'm assuming that Vaush believes that I agree with the people who say repeal the 19th Amendment. And this is why you need to actually watch people's content uninterrupted before you make tons of assumptions about them. Over the years, I've said many times that the idea that women's suffrage should be removed or their rights should be taken away is completely stupid. Not only is it stupid, it's abusive. No taxation without representation. That applies to women too. No taxation without representation is a core principle to the founding of America, and people shouldn't be removed from that because they weren't born the right gender. Second, I've heard a lot of these Reddit people say, I found some psychologist with 5 moral principles and he says women are immoral. That is also dumb. If men and women in general follow different moral patterns, it's probably that way for a reason. For example, when women reject guys, they rarely say, I don't want to go out with you because I don't like you. Most of the time they are indirect and say things like, I'm busy that day, I'm not really interested in that kind of activity, or I have a boyfriend. Generally, women won't directly say they don't like you, at least when they're in person. Why? Because there's a strength disparity between men and women. If she rejects you and you turn out to be insane, then she's in danger. Think of how many requests women get. Just one of those has to go wrong for her to be in a bad situation. So you're damn right girls are going to be indirect. Alright, enough assumptions. Let me go with things that Vaush actually said. I made a video talking about female dating coaches that said you shouldn't take their advice, primarily because they don't have any actual experience attracting other women. During the video, Vaush says this.
I like the implication that male dating coaches have a sterling reputation as because all the shit that my audience are making fun of that woman for is because she's doing the same thing that a lot of male pickup artists do. I want this guy to review pickup artists that he likes. That's what I want to see.
Actually, I don't like any male pickup artists, so I agree with you, and I mean I strongly agree. All of the male PUAs I've seen are trash. Now I'm sure that there are 1 or 2 moral PUAs out there who aren't bad people. A broken clock is right twice a day, but the vast majority of them are really awful. Like the people from Real Social Dynamics. I believe Owen Cook is a drug addict whose irresponsible behavior led to an unplanned pregnancy. What about the stuff that Julian Blanc did? Outside of Real Social Dynamics, what about the godfather of pickup Neil Strauss cheating on his wife? Now, Simple Pickup did pretty well on YouTube for a while, but they all ended up screwing each other over years later. How about more recent PUAs like Fresh and Fit? Fresh and Fit were all for free speech until people started pointing out that Fresh Prince CEO wasn't that good at talking to women. Then they felt the need to abuse DMCA to censor opinions they didn't like. Fortunately, those DMCA claims failed. Here's something interesting. On their High Value Academy website, they have this one note where it says Fresh has slept with over 1,000 women. No way that guy has slept with that many women unless he's paying the girls. Oh, and one last thing to emphasize. Myron frequently says that it's okay for men to cheat on women, but it's not okay for women to cheat on men. That's the same kind of double standard that I criticize feminism for. Full disclosure, I have watched some of their content in the past and reacted to some of their videos because I had some hope that they were a new generation of PUA and weren't like the old generation. But as time went on, I found out that they weren't much different from the old PUAs, and I immediately removed the reaction videos I made on their content. Oh, and by the way, I got rid of those videos even though they were still getting tons of views and making me money. One more assumption from Vaush.
Do you think anywhere in any of this guy's videos, when just sort of incidentally using examples of behaviors, he has a positive example from a woman? Like, it's very obvious that the only reason we're supposed to feel this way about these interactions is because the woman's a woman, the guy's a guy, right? Like, there's no fucking way this guy would ever pull out, like, a contrary example.
Wrong again. If you watched more than 2 of my videos, you would know that's not true. I actually hesitated in using that example in that particular video he is reacting to because it was a guy looking good and a woman looking bad. I hesitated because I knew someone like Vaush would come along and wrongly insinuate that I purposefully picked that example because of sexism, when in reality, I am begging for situations like that to be the other way around, because I actively go out of my way to show women doing good things all the time, and I do that because I think it's abusive to say that people can only do things that are wrong. So I'll often try to say positive things about the people I'm criticizing if I can catch them doing something good. And yes, I also show women who I think are positive role models. Here are 2 fairly recent videos that I made about women who I think are amazing. The first is Jeanette McCurdy, who suffered a pretty traumatic childhood, but now uses that experience and her social media presence to promote awareness for mental health. She's a recovered anorexic, so her advice on overcoming addiction is really solid, and it comes from personal experience.
I'm rambling because I care very much about like helping in any way that I can people with eating disorders. I just think there's such a waste of time. I think they take so much potential out of people, and it's like heartbreaking to me that there's all these people out there who could be so much more, but they're just wasting their time on this addiction that's like defeating that. It's just it's so bothersome.
What people don't know is that I heard about Jeanette's story way before that video with her in it, and I waited close to a year to find something that was relevant to her so I could put her in a video as a positive example. The second video I made was about Lacey Green. That video did pretty well, but I wish it had done better because I wanted more people to see what she did. Years ago, Lacey tried to repair the divide between feminists and anti-feminists by opening up a conversation with Sargon of Akkad. The crazy thing here is that she was the one who was wronged in her battle with Sargon, yet she was brave enough to initiate a dialogue with him to repair their relationship. While the anti-feminist crowd really appreciated that, unfortunately, the feminist crowd flipped out, started harassing her, made up lies about her, and she lost a lot of friends. Feminists have a tendency to be incredibly intolerant of differing opinions. That's why I'm critical of modern feminism.
I really value loyalty. I'm a very loyal person, and I find more of my, politically, I find more of my moderate to right-leaning friends are, at the end of the day, even if they think I'm like a crazy nut job liberal or whatever,
right,
they aren't going to just up and leave me and, stop talking to me like many of my liberal friends have. I've never been abandoned by my right-wing friends over my views, but left-wing, absolutely.
Here's the thing, though. Both of these women are on the opposing political side. We are not on the same team. Lacey and I definitely disagree on a lot of stuff, but it's her actions, not her beliefs, that make her a good person. I'm pretty sure that Jeanette is also on the left, and I still said good things about her. Why can't these people reacting to me do that? Why do I so often see people like Hasan saying things like this?
Okay, it might be GG's for these homies because, they make money off of it, and it's like really hard to come back from that. That's why I really respect like content creators who literally go down the fucking right-wing pipeline, but then they stop themselves personally and they're like, you know what the fuck is going on? This is wrong. And literally take a hit and change their attitude, change their behavior, change their minds. I really always respect that. Ethan is a great example of this.
Ethan Klein, the guy who encouraged multiple acts of terrorism during a stream? Wow, this stream from Hasan did not age well. Like it didn't even take a month for it to age poorly. That gaffe from Ethan was not too hard to predict, though. He's done a lot of bad stuff over the past 2 years. By the way, let's have Hasan clarify what he means by the right-wing pipeline.
That is where I started when I was watching online content creators, which led to GRE, Jordan Peterson, Shapiro, etc. I used to listen to these people 5 hours a day. Glad I'm not listening to them anymore. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like that is how that works. I mean, that's you go down that fucking pipeline. You're looking for advice.
I wanted to be charitable by saying he is just talking about the very small portion of people who are on the alt-right, but he literally just said you are a bad person for listening to regular conservatives that at least half the country would agree with. By the way, Joe Rogan is on the left, not the right. I've listened to him for almost a decade, and he has promoted all sorts of left-wing policies during that time period. In fact, I remember an episode where he sat down with your Uncle Cenk as a friend. I wonder what happened to that.
So, I mean, I don't know if you ever heard the story, but like the reason I left MSNBC is I got a speech from the head of the network, Phil Griffin, who said, I was just in Washington, they're not happy with your tone, and we're the establishment here, and you got to start acting like it.
Whoa.
Isn't that amazing?
It's not just amazing, it's like a scene in a movie.
And I'm on there from January to April. Okay, at that point, April, I get the speech, and I think to myself, fuck that, I'm not doing that.
This whole thing is messed up. People aren't bad just because they have conservative beliefs, and people aren't bad just because they're on the left. So stop disparaging and mischaracterizing the other side like that. Stop saying the ends justify the means and doing whatever it takes to win with no consideration to all the destruction you cause to achieve that goal. Whoever wins this battle, when you come home, you still have to live next to the losers. Do you want to live next to a bunch of losers you hate and despise? Or would you rather be in a place where you can challenge a disagreeing party to a battle of ideas, where both of you come out stronger by the end of it, instead of hating each other's guts? I don't know how many of you have experienced something like that, but those kinds of conversations are incredibly fun. And we also have a lot of evidence that they're entertaining to people. I would argue that they're more entertaining than the mudslinging debates that we're used to, because Jubilee's Middle Ground and Steven Crowder's Change My Mind segments do extremely well. But we don't get good conversations like that if we continue this stupid political debate meta where everyone who is not on your side is evil, while people like Hasan and Vaush wildly mischaracterize their opponents. And they get away with stuff like that because there are a ton of people out there who believe it's okay, who are propping those creators up. So the solution is what it always is, which is to fix things at the individual level. You don't want to be mischaracterized or name-called? Then don't do those things to other people. You want people to listen to you and take your ideas into consideration? Then you must do that for them first. If you want people to be empathetic, then you have to show empathy. Be the change you want to see in other people. It's an old cliche, but it's repeated a lot because it's true. Anyway, thanks for watching, follow me on Twitter, and I'll see you in the next video.